Hey everyone, Sarah here. Let me just get this out of the way. And we are going to start in 5 minutes. I just wanted to pop in early to give people who are just logging in a reminder. You should already log into your ConvertKit account and you should already create a template. Now, mine is literally bare bones, the least amount of stuff you can have in it. Some of you followed the instructions in ConvertKit and you will already have a lot of the formatting in there. That's completely fine. It'll be a little bit easier for you because you'll be changing some stuff that they already have written in there. But I am going to show the webinar starting literally from scratch, from as much as from scratch as you can get. So you can follow along. And like I said, if your template has other stuff in it, because ConvertKit does allow you to copy basically their classic model template. And so they already have all of their styles in there, and then you can swap them out. Go ahead and edit in that one if you want. Or like I said, if you want to go bare bones, this is what it would look like right here. You basically, this is just for email stuff, but even for you, basically, you need to have a place for that, and message content. We'll want to be able to put stuff before or after, and that's it. The rest of the stuff I will be showing you and coding live with you. So that's how that's going to work. So if you haven't already created a template that we can work in, go ahead and do that. If you are really new to HTML and CSS, or if you're hopping in right now and you're someone who's saying, I don't know what HTML and CSS is, you're welcome to continue to watch this webinar, but it may go over your head. So if you start to have questions of, how do I write out border color or width or percentages, you'll need to know more about HTML and CSS to get ready for this. However, if you are a web designer or you've taken my HTML and CSS crash course, you should be able to follow along fairly quickly. There will be a recording of this. It's going to be in the complete guide to ConvertKit, and all of my notes will also be in there. And this template, you could basically just copy and paste afterwards. But that is a paid product. You get to watch me do this for free. So take your notes as you're going along. I'm going to pop into the chat real quick. Just see. Thank you, Sophia. And hi, Susanna. Nice to see you again. And I'm going to be showing you the basics of just how to set up a template. So for example, I am not going to show you all the ins and outs of how I do my templates in my shop. Though if you follow this, you can basically get all the elements in there, because I'm going to tell you how to do everything, getting a pre-header area, how to put those block sections in, how to use text links instead of social media links. All of that will be in there. So basically, at the end of this webinar, the idea is you should be able to create ConvertKit templates for yourself, or if you're a web designer, any of your clients as well. All right, just going to give it one more minute, because right at 1 o'clock, I will get started. So for anyone who's just joining us, make sure you are already logged into your ConvertKit account and that you are ready to go. I said that I have the bare of a template that you can go with, but many of you will have copied over basically ConvertKit's classic template. So you might already have font styles and everything already listed here. That's perfectly fine. That'll be easier for you. It'll be less writing, but I'm literally doing this from scratch so you can see how it works from start to finish. Oh, poor Sophia. Good luck at Starbucks. In Kansas City, we have Google Fiber, so we never worry about the internet dropping off. But it's nice to see everyone popping in. And all right, it is 1 o'clock Central Time. I'm going to go ahead and get started with this webinar. All right, so everybody go into your ConvertKit accounts. In your account, you can go into templates. I want you to have a new template open right now. All of you should have gotten an email about your homework assignment. So if you got around to doing that, you would have created this spare template. If you have not yet, the quickest thing to do is click new email template once you're in templates, and oops, sorry, and just see what's on your screen and copy along from here, because I am going to get started. Now I'm going to not write all of this from scratch because I'm afraid I wouldn't get through all of these elements within an hour. So you're going to see me go back and forth through this right here, which is my notes. All of this will be available in that ConvertKit course, but you should be able to build a template without, without this if you are a web designer, just by following along. But like I said, if you want to get this, I have this already up in that template course. So when I am doing this, starting from basic scratch, the first things I want to do is to build a container. And so I have built these out already. All of these are the CSS styles. You want to plop them in here. I like to have the container be a padding around the edge that's off-white. You could actually have any color go in there. You know, the padding's 2%. You can change that to make you have more of a padding or less. I did put a max width in there just for email stuff. You don't have to have that in there, but that's something as I've seen it land in my inbox on my phone and my inbox on a desktop. I just found that putting a max width in there was helpful. So like I said, here is the color, padding, max width. That is your container. Once you go after styles, you're going to be putting in all of the HTML over here. And you could have these be IDs, but it was just easier for me to name these all classes. So, and that div will close out after the message. So the message content is everything that you can edit when you're building a broadcast. So all of your content will automatically be dragged in here. We're editing everything else around it. So the container is going to be the whole email, so you have a div before and after. All right. Pretty easy. The next thing you want to do is to create the inside that has all of the, where all the text is going to go. I'm not too creative in my naming process. You can choose to name these however you want, but I just called it inner. You want to throw another div down here. This I'm saying the background color is white. I'm also giving it a padding. If you want to check, whoops, if you ever want to check on your work, you can always do preview layout. But if you're doing any link-based work, like you're changing link colors, it won't show up because in their preview text, like I'll show you here, they don't have any examples of links. So you'll have to check that later. For right now, as you see, I said, you know, give me sort of an eggshell white border. That's a 2% padding. And then I added another padding so it wouldn't be quite to the edge. And that just creates a nice container. Now, if you have brand colors and you want this to be a color instead of a white space area, it's really easy. You just go ahead and change the background color. Some of you want to have borders. If you want to have a border, also, if you're a web designer, you can just throw those all together. For those who are super new to HTML and CSS, I wanted to separate that out. I would recommend putting the border information inside inner instead of the container. I like having that space in the inbox so that your design isn't flush against the edge of the inbox. So, you know, border solid, 3px, one of the colors. So here, now we have a blue border. If you are looking for something minimalistic, I would go for 1. And I would also go for a gray color. So that's a really nice clean line. And let's say you didn't want to have a color difference, you just wanted to have a line. Hold on a moment. you could have it just have a line there. Now remember, we haven't added a header image or anything like that. This is just the bare basics. And this alert will always pop up until you've added these tags. I'm not going to worry about that until we get to the footer. But as you can see, you can build your template very easily on design once you even just get through the container and inner sections. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that to be that really nice gray border. If you want to have a background image, like you have a vector file, you can always add that. And I would add that to the container. I'm assuming you want the background image here, not behind the text. So I have a really nice image. I'm just having it repeat. So this would be example. Probably don't pick something as colorful as I picked, but this would be an example. If you have if your brand has a couple of vectors or patterns and you want to have patterns on the outside, you can definitely do that as well. So like you see here, I just did background image. Here's the URL. You can upload that image to your own website, or you can upload that image into ConvertKit and just grab the link. All you need is a link there. I had background repeat. Since this is on the container, we only see it on the edges. If you want to see more of it, all you have to do is to increase or decrease the padding, and you will see more and more. That's going to be crazy. More and more of the design. But if you have a strong design element, like I said, if you have patterns or something with your brand, that is how you are going to have that land in people's inboxes. And just like I said, I just picked a random free vector file that I had. So you got these lovely bright colors. Is what you have here. And if you have this and you don't want a border, you can also remove these borders as well. Or if you want to change into the padding, you can go ahead and grab that. But that is even just the super basics of, hey, here's borders. You can have images here. The inner is where you're going to want to have, if you want to have, if you want to have an image on the border, you put it in here. On the inner side, if you just want to have a border, you can do that as well. So let me go ahead and, those of you that don't know what this is, don't worry about it. I'm just keeping the code in here and show you, if you don't want to have an image, that's fine too. Just land in your inbox just like that. I'm going to go ahead and put that back in just for kicks. And I am going to pop in. Okay, great. I just want to make sure we didn't have any other questions popping up in the chat. And let me just double check that you guys are great following along with what I am doing as well. All right, so like I said, I know we're moving fast, but we've already added some of the biggest elements that most of my clients ask for, having images in the background, just having a really nice styled border. The other thing is I ran into this issue in fellow web designers. Sometimes it seems like ConvertKit isn't quite scaling images really well. And so just a quick trick would be max width 100% height auto. If you just add that into your template, you're going to not run into some of the issues that I've seen other people have with their images, not quite scaling right in their browser and maybe even in their inbox. So like I said, max width 100, height auto. That is the way to go through that. Obviously, that's not a div. You don't need to add that anywhere. That's just something that I wanted to make you all aware of, that I always add to my templates to help get rid of some of those image issues. So these are for if you're in your message content and you choose to have an image, sometimes there's just, like I said, there seem to be scaling issues, and this was a fix that I found to help get over it. All right, so like I said, we've done borders and we've done pattern borders. Now I am going to talk to you about font styles. So you can technically add Google fonts in here. So for example, if you have fonts on your website, the fonts will definitely show up if someone's viewing it in their browser. you can go ahead and add Google fonts. So I chose to add Montserrat and Open Sans. It may or may not, depending on how they're viewing their email on mobile. They may or may not show up there. So always make sure, to have sans or sans serif as backups. But if you do have fonts, you can add them in. Let me just pop in to see. For Susanna, nope. In email, you don't need to have a head tags or anything like that. This is a slightly different HTML file, so don't worry about it. Everything you see here, where it says, style and message content, it'll already work. It's already going to show up because there's other work that ConvertKit is doing on the side to have all of that stuff in there. We're just putting all of our content stuff in there. So like I said, if you want to add fonts, you can go ahead and do that, and you can choose to add them however you want. I just like to throw a generic body tag in there. I find that useful. It'll apply to all of your paragraph tags. If you want, you can always do all of your headings or do specific headings. But if you notice in ConvertKit, it doesn't really let you drop and pick down headings. You're going to have to type those in anyway. So that's up to you if you want to style them. Right now, I'm just saying, please use Open Sans if you can pull it. If not, sans serif. I chose 15px. You guys could use M's, whatever you want to use it for. And mine is a really nice gray color. Susanna, you can't get your preview to work. Make sure that you have, at the very least, if you're starting super fresh, make sure you have at least this right here in there. And if you want to take a moment to like screenshot it and then catch up later, I'll be just fine. Or if not, if you're in the ConvertKit course, all of this stuff will be given to you so you can copy and paste. But if the preview isn't working, it's not registering something. The other thing to do is save back out and try again. I've actually never had the preview not work for me. It would at least show at least the message content. None of your styles are showing. Do you have, make sure you have these sections, style type, style, and that you're doing them in here, and that obviously you have the divs below as well. We'll keep following. Well, I'll have to see where you're at. I'm going to continue on in the webinar, but like I said, see if you are doing your styles between here and here. That's the way to do those. All right, Susanna. Well, I'm going to go ahead and keep moving on. But go ahead and keep trying, or just start taking notes. You can open in a I use brackets, use an HTML editor like this and follow along. And then you can always copy and paste over. Because I've honestly never had ConvertKit's preview layout not work for me. So that's new. That's new to me. So keep giving it a try. Like I said, if your styles aren't showing up, remember it only previews the text in here. So it would only show up your text files. Sorry that popped up. Okay. Let's move on to some of the basic stuff that all of you know. Like I said, this is body. This is where you go to add how you want your links to appear. So if you don't want an underline, you choose text decoration none. I find that I want mine to be bold, so I have a higher font weight, just because depending on what colors you use, it's really hard for those links to stand out in emails. So I am choosing to put, like I said, I picked colors in advance, just like about some of you. I have this really nice like hot pink rose color that will be all of my links. And like I said, here's one of the down parts of a preview. In their preview message, they don't have links. So if you want to see what it looks like, you have to save your template and then go and create a broadcast and preview that broadcast. I won't do that right now, but I will do that at the end so you can see how that works. So like I said, you can style all of your links. This is body. If you want, like I said earlier, if you want to style any of your headings, H1, H2, you can choose to do all of that as well. Here's the one that I am going to give you guys a little bit of leniency on. Let me pop this in here. I am going to be putting these buttons, so it's very long, this would be very fast for you guys to catch up, these button styles in the chat so that you can just copy and paste from those. So I have two button styles that I prefer to use. First one is called button. What this will do, it'll go width, it'll be 90%. It'll go most of the way across your screen. It'll be a solid color, and the text will be in between. So, for example, if any of you saw some of my past ConvertKit emails, let me just go in here. Go. And just like this one that we just sent out. I also have one that does that outline look. So if you want to grab that outline look, that is what this piece of code is right here that I call an outline button. So what that outline button does is it's saying, I want you to style the button, it's going to have a border around it. The text will be uppercase. This will be a link. And that's just, and then you can choose to center it or not. That is one button style. You can get that through the outline button class right here. If you just want a regular solid button, you can do that here as well. Go ahead and change the width. I chose to have the button basically be 90% of the email, which is quite large. So if you want it to be much smaller, you could do 40%, or you could just leave the width out. But like I said, I like to have a large bar there. And I thought I heard some people pop in the chat. You're welcome that it's generous for me to share it. I realized that I can't just have an empty screen up here for too long for you guys to be able to write down all of these things about buttons and all the different things I've done. So that's why I wanted to give you guys this code as well. So these are ways to style buttons. You don't have to use my code. There's tons of HTML button generators. Like, you can choose whatever you want to style. I like to have two options between the looks of the outline button and a solid button. So that's why they're here in my templates. And I can pick between them based on the class, which hopefully all of you know, but it would be when you're writing in the message, whatever your link is, you would pick, that's how you'd write your link when you're actually creating a broadcast. You have to tell them what class, outline button or button that you're using. Like I said, if you aren't familiar with HTML and CSS, this might be going too fast for you, but this was more for my fellow web designer friends to learn something about ConvertKit. All right, so we went over buttons. It's 101 to do fonts, so I'll let you guys figure that out on your own. One thing I like to do in my emails, just like I showed in here, in my own template, I choose to have two callout sections. So one is for my resource library, another one is for my ConvertKit shop. So I'm going to show you the code that I have for a callout section. You can name them whatever you want. So in fact, if one of your callout sections is going to be called, library or free resource, go ahead and name, that div whatever you want. But for generic sake, I'm just calling it callout one. which makes me think too much of call out duty. And because this is just a block text area and you don't edit this in your message, you need to have content here. So I went ahead and already grabbed this. So like I said, I'm trying to save you guys time from watching me spell this all out. Oops. So this is just the text that I already had on my ConvertKit shot. Bloop. So this would be a call out section. Did I miss? Oh, hello. I was wondering, I was like, why are my class styles not there? It's always the small things, right? And so now it's bringing out a white section that I have centered towards the middle. If you want to have that be a totally different color, you can do that. So like I have a bunch of random different colors up here so that I could use them. All I need to do is throw that in there, get a background color going. It's going to look kind of ugly because it's blue, but you know, that's the example. You can put call out boxes in here. There is a padding, so you will have that white border outline. So that's up to you to figure out, you know, if you need to do something more with this inner, because I have inner going all the way down. If you need to end that inner div earlier because you want these call out sections to be flush against the edge, you can go ahead and change that, but I just have inner being the whole inside. Like I said, you could probably pick classier colors than what I have, but that's just the example that I wanted to show you. So, you know, I also chose to have the font size smaller. You could have it bigger, but for me, when I'm building these emails, the main thing I wanted to do is to read this section. This is generic, and I don't mind, you know, if this is 12-point font underneath here. If you're interested in ConvertKit, you'll look at it. If not, you won't. That's perfectly fine. So, but like I said, you can choose. I'm particular about line height. It's just a thing that I have. Sometimes fonts just get too smudged together, especially if they're small text. You don't want to put them too close together. You could also change that padding. I chose to have a relatively generous padding on it, but if you wanted to have less padding, you can. I liked 5%. That was a good number because I wanted to have a more block feel. If it's too skinny, it just didn't quite feel like the call out section at the end that I wanted it to be. Ah, Susanna, yes, why did you just have that issue of like, why isn't this working? And it was because I forgot an equal sign. That, yeah, that's totally, that totally happens to people, closing a quote. So this is a call out section. As you saw in this example here, I technically have two. I just chose to have one match the color of the outline. You could have 7, though that would be a really long email, or you could have 1, but it's your choice. You can put as many call out sections as you want. All right, let's move along. We just finished our call out sections. So you guys have some of that code for outline buttons. And like I said, this whole document here is actually already uploaded into that ConvertKit course. So if you've already purchased that, like you could just download this already. Save yourself time. Here's something that I just wanted to let you know about. I have had people, so this is more for my big web developer friends. This right here, if you need to make a column, you know, I cleverly named it, you know, column L and it floats left, column R and it floats right. If you need to, you know, some people have newsletters where there's 2 different sections. You can either add this in the message area because you want that text in the message, or if you need to have 2 columns, I'd recommend just doing it with widths. I have tried before, and I also know another developer that tried to follow the ink framework. Okay, I don't see it here, but that's because it's basic. But ConvertKit uses something called the Ink framework, and if you follow its documentation, it tells you to do tables, and it is horrible. Don't put tables in. I want you to just, do columns. Unfortunately, Flexbox has not yet come to people's inboxes, or all of us would be using that. But in the meantime, follow the float rules and do column percentages instead of trying to nest the tables and rows. It just is not looking great in all the email examples. So just as FYI, I've honestly only met one person who needed to have, a split of text over here that goes long and text over here. Most people I know are okay with, just having these wider sections. The easiest thing that you guys are going to do today that I want to show you is if you want to add a custom signature, and I get so many clients saying that they want that. If you want a signature, you do it right after the message content, and you can just do, that's my name. You can just do Sarah. But I usually like to pull in a Google font that looks more cursive, or it looks more like handwriting, and then I just I can do span, or you can do P style and pull in that font so that it's larger. I usually have it be about a 24 font. Let's just see. And then what it'll look like, it'll always be added in. Where are we going? If I would close my, there we go, but instead of just the generic text, like I said, this is where another reason why I would pull in a Google font near the top, like this. I have done for people's stuff, and then just put in a large sign off for them. Like I said, you can just modify the P style or put in a span element, whatever you want. And you can make this cursive, whatever you need it to be, or if you just want to have it just slightly. But then that way, they always have their signature. Ignore this. This is actually written in the example message content. This, they would never have to remember to sign off. So I do have a lot of clients asking me to make some sort of stylized sign off. If they have a picture of their signature and it doesn't look crappy, to be the honest truth, they had someone in Photoshop take care of all of that for them. You could also add an image right here below message content, but most people I know don't have such a great view of their image. I just like to do this section for their signature call off. This is something I'm going to be going a little bit quick through, but I wanted to show you. ConvertKit will provide the code to give you icons on the bottom, and you can have them line up. But if you want to do something similar to what I have, 3 across, 4 across, in the preview it's 3, in my inbox it's 4, it all depends. If you wanted to have text-based instead of image-based, I'm going to show you that bit next. So I just create another, basically I'm creating another call out section, except I gave it a different name. I called it social. So that did close up that. Let me, and when you're over here, keep track of your divs, make sure you're closing everything. And then, so I said, okay, keep it that same background that we have there. I want to have a different look. I have a different padding. Instead of 5% all around, I chose to do a different padding. And then all of my text is aligned center. Now, when I put these in, oh, I already had the divs here. Look at me. Actually, it might be easier for you guys to read from this perspective. I chose to have different colors for the links. So what I did is I just applied classes to each of the, basically it's an an unordered list without any of the lists. I just applied classes. They're obviously named. The pink one is a pink color. The yellow is a yellow color. Mint, pink again. That way I could change up all of the colors. You don't have to do this if you're choosing one color. You could just, do, your code would just say Lee, and that's it. And you wouldn't have to add any classes. It would automatically put everything in there. The only problem is it would also make those changes too. If you have a bullet point in your message and that bullet point has a link in it, it would style that too. So if this is truly going to be in one area, and especially if you're going to alternate colors, go ahead and make, its own style there. Or you could do, socially, whatever, You could also do that version to style all of them, but I just do want to warn you, if you did do my trick of like Lee A, you will run into that issue if you ever have bulleted lists or numbered lists with links in it. Anyway, so for those of you not too familiar, I'm just saying keep the color the same as the social background. Cool. This is the color that I want it to be. I want there to be padding. The reason I'm adding padding around it is so that there's spaces. And basically, these are like boxes. By adding that padding, I wanted there to be space between all of them, and there'd be a nice even look to it. Instead of someone hitting the space bar, you can just go ahead and add that in there. So, ta-da. Oh, did I not add my social? Yes, I didn't add this in yet. I was wondering why my styles weren't in there. Throw this in here. I must be missing something. Since they're not quite all lining up correctly. Oh, do you know what? I have it in a different. I copied these over from my template, and they are inside another div. That's why they're not showing up. Let me pause out, go into my templates, and go into, I creatively named my templates. I'm pretty sure that I wrapped that with something else that I didn't bring over. So social class bottom. Because it shows up just fine down here. Let me see if I didn't carry over all of my social. Oh, it looks like I did. Now you can see all of the work that I put in. Haha, this is what I needed. Knew I forgot something. So actually, I will update this document in the resource in that completed ConvertKit. There you go. Now I'm saying display all these inline block, have a letter spacing. This is their font. This is their line height. And have all of them be uppercase. I don't have to worry about typing that in. Okay, great. Ta-da. Sorry about that. I was like, I'm missing something. And this is, this is fun. You can change these out. So I have some clients, that have LinkedIn, or there are various websites down here. You can have 1, you could have 4. I recommend don't having more than 4 because then you're already going to be wrapping below. And 1 looks a bit strange. So 3 to 4 is a great number on the bottom for your social media links. Sorry about that detour. Lastly, a footer. I didn't want to use the term footer just in case. I don't need this div, random div here. I just called it bottom. It's very creative. So the things that you must have in your emails, if you notice, I no longer have that alert up there. You must have an unsubscribe link but you don't necessarily have to have your address listed there. If you want to spell it out a certain way, you can. Or if the address you have in your profile is actually not a business address you want people contact at, you could put a PO box in here, but then leave your home mailing address in your ConvertKit account. You could spell out that address. It does need to be there, but the only thing that it absolutely mandatorily requires is the unsubscribe button. Now, I haven't brought over any of my styles. Bottom is pretty easy. It's just like the callouts, except it is much smaller. So let me go ahead and dump this in here. I said font size 10. I don't need to really make a big deal about who I am, where I live, and unsubscribe. This is also the place that if you want to have custom unsubscribe links, and if you've watched any of the previous webinars, you'll learn how to make those. You could also just Google ConvertKit custom unsubscribe link, and they'll tell you how to do that. This is where you'd put in those action links. You need a generic unsubscribe. That has to be in there. But if you want one that's more like, you know, hey, do you not want to get emails on this topic? Click here instead of unsubscribing. But at the very least, you always have to have a mass 100% unsubscribe link in all of your emails. This was, if we had time, I wanted to show you something that I've added to my emails that some of you may or may not know about email marketing. So I will show you how I create this pre-header text area. So what it is when you are in your inbox, it will pull the first text, whether that's an image or not. And by the way, this is all HTML. This isn't an image, which means it'll always load. It'll never not be displayed. Yay! So I recommend if you guys can make your headers not be images, go for it. Sorry, that's just a ranting side tip. It'll pull in the first text. So if you custom, like build into your template the first text, it'll always pull this in for pre-headers. Now, you could choose to use this or you could choose not to. So for example, whenever I send out an email, it'll say open me for web design and marketing tips. I do copy my templates over. Let me go. Am I in the right one? Yes. I don't want to cancel out of the one we're building. You can always copy stuff over. So for example, if you have, let's say you have some sequences going on, open me to learn about design. If you have a design sequence, or it could even say, here's the next email in your course, you know, in the course you signed up for. So feel free to just copy and paste and create tons of different sub-templates for a bunch of your different sequences. So, and that's where you'd want to change that pre-header text if you want to, and I'm going to show you right now how to add that section. I just wasn't sure how much time you would have. This is a long one. You don't need to know too much about it because that's just me being picky about letter spacing and things like that, and you guys can iron that out on your own. I am going to add it up here after inner, just because if I can, I like to have my styles go in order that their divs appear. I want to add that border, so border bottom. I'm only adding on the bottom. It's a really light color. It's solid. It's super thin. It's only 1 pixel. This is the color of the text, font family, font size, letter spacing, padding. So the big things you'll want to keep is this, the border bottom, the margins, and the padding. If you want it to be uppercase, great. You don't have to. That was just something that I kept in my style. And text aligned center. Everything else, you know, that's up to you to make your changes if you want it. So now I have dot pre-header text. And I'm just going to copy this over. So pre-header text is going to show up right after inner because you want it smack dab right on the top. So this is the container, this is inner. You want that pre-header text to appear before the message. You have to put your text in here. So you could have this, you know, 5 days to a better website course, whatever you want them to pull in. Preview layout. That's right up there. You can barely see it because the font choice, I love that it's nice like that, that line. If you want a more solid line, you can have it. I prefer that. So we have just created, in this case, a very ugly template because I just picked random colors and images. But for you guys basically just saw all the code in how I build my own templates. So this is how to build a ConvertKit template. I am going to quick go and hit save, because after you do this, like I said, we are going to run into the issue. And don't worry, I won't send you guys an email. Their template. If you want to see, yes, cupcake. No, far more than regular lorem ipsum. Short 3, sure. Ta-da! Here's all my text for the email. Just throw this in here. I'm going to see what this looks like as a link. Because like I said, the preview doesn't show you what links look like. And I am going to throw a button in here. Just so I can see what these look like. So now if I would do, so this is what the links look like. This is not what a button should look like. So I'll go back to those styles and see what, that could be a problem right there. Don't have spaces. And close this up. I'll do that. There we go. Here's a button. And like I said, I have 90% width on this. If you want, you can make this much smaller so it's a regular button size, but that's a full button. This is what a link looks like. Like I said, I chose to have the font weight 600 so it shows up more. That's basically making it bold. You can see all of my stuff down here and the unsubscribe. This highlights whatever the link colors are. If you have a colored section like this, you might need to create a specific style rule for your links in here, because if it doesn't mash really well, that's the way to do it. But yes, you do have to go in and create basically a test broadcast to be able to see how some of those styles look. But this is it. Like I said, thank you for joining me on this adventure on making a really crazy, crazy looking template. But I hope some of you now can start taking on some new clients to build ConvertKit templates, or you could always sort of child theme it. So I'm a WordPress developer, so child theme is a way of saying, here's a theme that's basically got 90% of what I need. I'm just going to modify it to make it 100%. I do have a ConvertKit shop, so if you have a client that wants something pretty close to like one of these products, you could always just say, okay, it cost me $45 to get the code for this template, and I just need to swap out colors. I could charge like, $80, and I get my time made, and I also have a good template. So if you needed something to go off of. So that's it for now. If you guys have some questions and you want to drop them in the chat, now is the time to start doing that, or I'm more than welcome to, you guys are more than welcome to pop out early. Like I said, this was the final version of our template. We created a container. We chose to have a repeated background. We chose to have a pre-header text. This is an image fix that I recommend everyone throw into their templates. If you wanted to add more Heading styles you can. You guys in the chat have the 2 button styles. Go ahead and delete and modify this to make it look, the way you want. You can have as many call-out sections as you'd like. This is how you have those social buttons and how they all work together. Don't forget this important section. And that's it. The rest of the stuff that you're going to be doing will be inside the message. So you guys are all set. So let me stop sharing. And I'm just going to see if anyone has any more questions. I think you guys are all set up. So I will, in a couple of seconds, probably pop off the webinar. If there's any questions, someone needs to see something right away, I'll show it on the screen. If not, I'll pop off and I will stay in the chat for the next couple of minutes. And like I said earlier, we've got the complete guide to ConvertKit, but if you click that link, you can go to that. If you've seen my previous webinars, so this would be one of the webinars, the ConvertKit tour, the videos here, but all the rest of the stuff is the extra stuff that you get with that. If you're here last week, here is the automation and sequence training, and then here are 2 other, a list of email content ideas. How to create 3 sequences that I feel every business owner should have. The code used in the example, I'll update it to have the social.ly in it, and this video will also be in there. So, yeah, so for an HTML and CSS course, let me show you the 2 places that you can go. One, let me go ahead and get back into sharing my screen. There are a lot of, for something very basic in HTML and CSS, SkillCrush has a free HTML and C, and it's very basic, but it will get you into what you need. They have a free 10-day coding bootcamp. It is pretty fun, and it will teach you HTML. And that will get you familiar enough with these templates. And like I said, it's free, so that's amazing. So like I said, that's SkillCrush. And if you just click on top, they have a 10-day bootcamp. If you go into, if you're on my website, you can always click into my school. I have the Blog Design Academy, and I have the HTML and CSS crash course for creative bloggers. This is the one that some of you in the webinar have actually already taken. Right now we're at 650 students, so yes, more than 500. You have homework, you learn what a style sheet is, you learn where to place CSS in your WordPress or Squarespace site. The idea is this is for bloggers who want to be able to do as much as they can on their own. They want to wait to hire a web designer for a really big change. But if they want to learn some basic things about HTML, creating divs, turning off code, creating buttons, building a coming soon page, building a landing page, all of that is in here as well. But like I said, if you want to start off with something free, SkillCrush has an HTML bootcamp. It's pretty fun. I've been through it. You could also Google some resources, but SkillCrush is the best free one that I have seen out there. Okay, well, I think that's it. Like I said, I'm going to stay in the chat, but I am going to close out the webinar. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this. It was a lot of fun. And it's just been really great to close out this ConvertKit series with you.